U.S. election news. Putin said he and Trump discussed the election. According to Putin, Trump reprimanded him for sympathizing with Joe Biden throughout Trump's presidency. Asking the Russian president about his invisible role in the 2024 U.S. election campaign trail, where both the current and former presidents mention you in their speeches, he gave an interview to the RIA state news agency and Rossiya 1 state television channel. The interviewer, Dmitry Kiselyov, a Kremlin propagandist who Putin nominated to manage the state-controlled media outlet Rossiya 7, implied that Putin had just fueled the fire by expressing his preference for Biden to remain president. To Putin, Biden is a more experienced person, he is predictable, he is a politician of the old type, and Putin said on Russian television in February that Russia would benefit from Biden's leadership. Putin was allegedly teasing the Democratic and Republican candidates, according to Kremlin propagandists. In response, Putin said, "I'll tell you something that will prove my inclinations haven't altered in this area. We abstain from meddling in any election. As I've mentioned before, we're willing to collaborate with any leader who has the support of the American people." The current presidential candidate, Mr. Trump, reprimanded me for siding with Joe Biden in the last year of his presidency, Putin said. While we were talking, he asked, "Do you want Sleepy Joe to win?" Then, much to my astonishment, they started going after Trump supposedly because we backed him in the election. Well, it's utterly ridiculous. He went on to say that he believed the American political system could not be considered democratic in every way, and that he saw the campaign trail for the U.S. presidential election as growing more and more uncivilized. Newsweek has reached out to the Trump campaign and the White House for comment. While implying that the better prepared we are for it, the less likely such a battle will happen, Kiselyov also inquired as to Putin's assessment of Russia's readiness for nuclear war. From a military technical point of view, we are, of course, ready, the Russian leader said, proudly showcasing his country's nuclear triad, aircraft, submarines, and land-based missiles. Is the most up-to-date trio in existence. This conversation takes place only days before Russians head to the polls in a closely contested presidential election, with a significant majority of voters anticipated to send Putin back to power. Voting begins on Friday. Israeli settlers hurriedly started to work after slipping past soldiers stationed at the Gaza Strip barrier, each carrying a piece of plywood. In what seemed like an instant, the young men had set up 2 makeshift structures in the middle of the Palestinian enclave, claiming to be outposts of a future Jewish settlement. After years of waiting, the Jewish community in Gaza finally felt like they could settle back in after October 7. When asked who owned it, 18-year-old David Reamer expressed his pride. "God declared it to be ours." Only about 14% of Israelis identify as religious Zionists, who hold the view that Judaism has divine right to govern a territory stretching from the Jordan River to the Mediterranean Sea. Nevertheless, their impact on the Israeli military, administration, and society has grown substantially in the past several years, and their frequently radical ideology is influencing the course of Israel's conflict with Hamas. Most religious Zionists lean to the far right, although they are far from united politically. They have stood in front of relief vehicles multiple times to prevent them from entering Gaza, and they are vehemently opposed to a ceasefire arrangement that would return Israeli hostages.